right, Hey guys, welcome to Funkadelic Studios. I'm sitting here with the incomparable Jasmine Sandler. My name is Alex Raggett. I'm going to be your host today, and we're going to just have a conversation and get to know Jasmine. So Jasmine, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Alex. Happy to be here as usual. My favorite place is Funkadelic. So,
and we are always happy to have you. All right, so I want to start off. I know you have a pretty eclectic background. You have a history of an entrepreneur. History as an entrepreneur. I know you're a keynote speaker, and you have a long history of music. I want you to kind of walk us through how you got to where you are today. Maybe your passions of music.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Give us some background.
Yeah. So, as all of you know out there and that are watching Funkadelic live, I'm sure all of you are creative professionals or involved in music in some way. And I look at entrepreneurism and the business of music in a very similar way. So I've always been an entrepreneur, but I started actually in corporate.
Okay.
So I have 2 MBAs. I worked for IBM for a number of years as a director of data services, very corporate job. But I always had very interesting ideas on how to market and build brands. And it's always what I wanted to do. So I left corporate to start my own agency, digital marketing agency, very early on. And initially, I started a social network that supported interests and enthusiasm around action sports. So that was my first entrepreneurial effort.
What got you into that?
So what happened was I don't know how much you know about extreme sports or action sports.
A little bit. I used to be a skateboarder.
Okay, I am a skateboarder.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Not great, but I'm okay.
Yeah,
but I used to be an aggressive inline skater. Actually,
Okay.
that's where I started. So I loved it. And I saw an opportunity very early on in the early 2000s for a need to bring together action sports enthusiasts and bring together all these companies that were like thinking, hey, this could become a hot trend. I'm kind of a very forward-thinking person.
Yeah.
So I took my money from IBM. This is a true story. I took all of my money and I started this social network. And it was called Extreme Connections. And we covered the content and events around 32 different action sports. I worked solely by myself. I had one business partner with the X Games, ASR. What we would do is we would go around and we would cover all of these events, and I would work with the athletes to highlight them and spotlight them on this website, the social network, and then marketed the social network to enthusiasts, so skateboarders and so on and so forth. Through that network, I'm trying to get to the music piece. Through that network, we were producing events for skateboarding and so on and so forth to build this audience online. And I said, well, it makes a lot of sense to involve music into sports. So I actually, by myself, developed a relationship with Sony Music, particularly Epic Records, because they are really like a hard rock type of label. And what we would do is we would develop and deliver music campaigns to my action sports network through the artists that were dropping on Epic Records.
Cool.
So I was kind of like an outside consultant working within the music industry to develop and deliver these campaigns to help them to drive visibility around new bands and their songs. So I was actually already at that time doing marketing for bands. And this goes way back. Then I'm just going to walk through my journey a little bit. That's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
So
what
I'm
we're here
going
for.
way back.
Yeah.
So what happened, there was a .com fallout, and then MySpace crumbled and all of those things that happened in the courts. So that business, I dissolved that business, but I had built that business and sold it at 300,000 users, right? So I built it from the ground up, meaning, Alex, that I had learned everything about not only building a social network, but online marketing. Okay. So I took all of my knowledge and I started to go out to digital marketing agencies and saying, you know what? I have all this knowledge. Can I consult for you guys? So they would come in and they would hire me on projects to help them to do everything from bring on new clients to help them to solution and strategize programs for their clients in spaces that they had no knowledge of, like search marketing at the time was very big, e-commerce sites and things like that. So I did that, and I got to this tipping point where I was consulting for an agency who I was doing very well for, like helping them to raise revenue within their client base. So they had me go out as a speaker, on their behalf at trade shows. And I got to this point where I was speaking at a trade show, the Direct Marketing Association, that's the association. And I was speaking at the DMA inaugural event in Phoenix, And after my speech, I had all of these people, entrepreneurs, that's the point of the story, come up to me and say, hey, can we work with your agency? It wasn't my agency. I was consulting for another agency whose clients were Citibank, major firms. That agency would not service entrepreneurs. So a light bulb went off in my head, and I said, okay, I'm going to start yet another business. And this business is going to be an agency that supports entrepreneurs. So I started that business in 2006. It's changed over the years. And in the last few years, because I'm a musician and my passion for music, I started under the umbrella of Jasmine Sandler Media, JSM for Artists. And JSM for Artists is it's the same mission that I had in 2006, to be honest with you. I want to provide a high level of services in branding and business development for artists at reasonable costs that bigger agencies, they won't touch. They normally don't touch local bands, you know?
Yeah.
So we're in this gap point, and that's what I do.
Well, that kind of strikes me as you're kind of in a similar lane to I guess, Funkadelic Studios. You're working with local artists, then, you know, kind of people who haven't really, you know, you're not working with the big dogs.
Yeah, they
really,
haven't made it yet.
Yeah. So you're working with cool people and bringing them up, and yeah, that's cool to see.
Yeah.
So what inspired you? Like, what was the moment you realized you really wanted to be working with musicians in that like lane, in that area?
Well, I'm a musician.
Yeah.
A songwriter and a singer, and I love every other instrument. So, another thing I didn't mention to you is, in between all of that stuff, I work for the NHL. I've played hockey my whole life. I'm a sports person, but I have found just my own interests that I'm most interested in music.
Yeah.
It's like my personal interest, and also because I know that this is a market that needs help.
Yeah.
It needs help. I don't think it's the most lucrative market, to be honest with you.
I mean, if you're passionate about it.
But I'm very passionate
Yeah.
about it. And the reason I brought up Extreme Connections to you is it goes back to the passion that I had with Extreme. That business that I built and sold was all passion.
Yeah.
And I found in that experience that my interest was music. And I've been trying to get back into doing music for a living. And I find that I can be the most helpful in this way, and I enjoy the people that I'm around.
I was very surprised when you told me you used to work for IBM, because that doesn't really strike me. That doesn't really fit you. You seem to be more of like a kind of like my own boss person, do what I want in the way I want, and not be like restricted to that like corporate world. So it's really cool to see what you've done since then.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna take a pause for a moment and pull up these other questions. So can you? Wait, sorry. Let me.
She's just rolling this, right?
Yeah, and then we'll edit around.
Do you want us to pause a lot to help you edit?
No, I'm just writing the second so that I go back and edit.
Yeah. All right. Let's drink a little water here. I got some caffeine in here. All right, let's get back into it. So, can you tell me a little bit about your team? Like, talk to me about what they do, who they are, and then what you do as well.
Sure. So my team at JSM for
Yeah.
Artists, what we do. So I have on my team, I have professionals in branding. That's number one. So branding starts with brand strategy, right?
Yeah.
So I lead that. I've led that for thousands of executives, hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs. And really what it is it's providing strategy, brand strategy for when it comes to bands, for either an individual artist or a band, right?
Yeah.
So it's defining how they'll stand out. That's number one. It's a very crowded space, music, right? How they'll stand out, what's different, how they can massage their brand through everything that they do to be successful, and how to define this brand so that it has the highest business and revenue value. That's my focus.
Okay.
Anyway, so then on my team, I have professional illustrators, okay? So they do all the merchandising stuff for our band clients. Song covers, album covers, merchandise. Because a big thing that we do is help our clients monetize,
Yeah.
right? So we do that. Then I have a team of brand experts and designers. So we do graphic design, social media design, website design, believe it or not, is a big thing that we do for bands. A lot of the bands I find have like old sites, or they might have a site hosted on Reverb Nation.
Oh yeah.
And Reverb Nation, who's a partner of ours, who I love them. But they just put out like standard websites.
Yeah.
So we take the websites and we build them as a proper professional brand. A lot of our band clients are trying to go national, and they're trying to play with other big bands. So they have to have a strong brand. Otherwise, they'll get dismissed. So branding is a big piece of what we do. We also offer search marketing services for bands that are really looking to sell a lot online. That could be something that's interesting and important to them. So if they're looking to get traffic to sell more merch, and they own that merch and they distribute that merch, and they're selling it on their website and not a third party, that's something that we get involved with. We also get involved with PR and booking for them. So I work with radio station people kind of across the country, because we work obviously in New York, but
Yeah.
right now my biggest band clients are actually in Virginia and Florida.
Oh, interesting.
And these are actually pretty big bands, but unknown. They're
Yeah.
known in their local market. So there's a lot of bands that are known in their local market, but outside their local market, they're like, who's that?
Oh yeah.
And that's actually my sweet spot, is to take them and get them out there.
Yeah.
So part of that service, which is a monthly PR kind of booking service, I act as their agent and help them to get bigger by getting them opportunities either to play shows outside of their market, or get on radio outside of their market, or, really get them out there and build a fan base outside of their market. The other thing that we do is help them, especially in the case with the Florida client right now. We're helping them. They were a cover band for 15 years. They have their first album out of all originals, which I inspired,
Yeah.
because in
Amazing.
Florida, if you
Wait, name some names. I wanna hear who these people are.
Sound Theory is a client of ours. They're
Okay.
based in Orlando. And then 710 Oil is a client of ours in Virginia.
Okay.
So those are the two I'm talking about. But with Sound Theory in particular, they're a really polished band, but they've traditionally done covers. So I'm working with them now to help them with the originals, because that's honestly the sweet spot of our business, is working with bands that are dropping originals on a continual basis, and we manage those as a product to get the best bang for their buck, right? Which means streams, right? How many streams they can get, fan development, shows within that point, which could go anywhere from like 6 weeks to 2 months. That's usually that ramp period for the single to get the most interest around it in radio play. So anyways, that's the PR and booking services that we do.
Okay, interesting. So, it sounds like a lot of that. Like, it sounds like a lot of that, like, for branding is visual. What are other like aspects of like that branding? Is visual the biggest part, or is it more like getting them out there, showing how they present themselves, how they speak?
Yeah, so you're right. Good point. So some of that does have to do with how they're going to present themselves to the media.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a little bit with them is like, well, I'll just give you some examples. So I've worked with clients where, a lot of the clients that we have are rock bands, because I have a rock band. So for
Yeah.
me, it's easy
Yeah.
because I already know the radio people. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So a lot of times, not everyone in the band is media appropriate. I'll just
Yeah.
put it that way.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's working with like the lead singer or the individual from the band that's media appropriate, and helping them to almost create a sub-personal brand for that individual. Like an analogy would be like Corey Taylor and Slipknot.
Oh yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there
Yeah.
because I'm a Slipknot fan. But anyway,
Maybe, yeah.
well, whatever. But anyway, so my point of the story is, that brand strategy, we look at the band as a business. It's not like, and what's the brand of the music, but what's the brand of the individuals as well. So what's interesting and how that might play out visually, right, is how we tell stories of each band member, what we might instruct them to do at a show. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
for example, with one of my clients, I remember having a conversation saying, look, like what you need to do when you get off the stage is you need to go right to the merch table, because you're the face of the band. And then you need to be playing more shows, and you need to be more visible online, where the other guys just need to support that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So again, it's about how do they spend their time, which isn't so visual,
Yeah.
I guess is the point.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's like it's not just the social media, but how they present
Right.
themselves, how they interact with the fans when they're playing.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and how they because, first and foremost for me, I'm a keynote speaker.
Yeah.
And I love the stage. And as a singer, I love the stage, but it's a different thing. So when I'm out there, I try to teach them what I do with my own music. It's like
Yeah.
I treat my shows like a keynote speaker in a way, and I know how to sell from the stage as a keynote speaker. And it's about really engaging with the audience from A to Z. So I remember we did a show recently, and someone said, I love the way that you talk to the audience and tell stories. No one does that. And it's because I have that background.
Yeah.
And I've done media training for executives. I've helped executives get on stage. I've written their scripts. I've gotten them in TED Talks. And I try to help the bands do that as well. So it's a little bit different than somebody that comes from a music background. They don't necessarily have the experience.
Yeah. Well, then talk to me how you got into like the role of a keynote speaker. That's,
Sure.
That sounds like there's I don't know how you get into that lane. Like what brought you there? What inspires you?
Yeah, so we'll go back to IBM.
Yeah.
So I was brought on at IBM as a sales marketing person, but as I progressed and was promoted through that role, I became a trainer. So I used to have to train hundreds of employees at a very, very young age. And I was used to just training a big room of people, which isn't easy.
Yeah.
Especially when
that's a daunting task.
when you're young and you don't have the experience yet.
Yeah.
So I found that although it was nerve-wracking at that time, it was something I wanted to do because I like being in front of an audience. And I also, I don't know, Alex. It's something like I feel like I was born to do.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah, I can see that.
and I like those challenges. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So over time, what I did is I would just start to take on any speaking assignments that were thrown to me. So at one point, this was, I think, a pivotal point in my speaking career. It was like 2007. Someone I knew that had a media agency had the flu, not COVID.
Yeah.
And he called me and he's like, hey, Jasmine, can you take my place at the Javits Center? Now, I've done speaking at the Javits Center before that, but they were smaller crowds.
Yeah.
He was the keynote speaker for the New York Expo. So I don't even know how many people were in the room that day, probably 1,200.
Wow.
So, and it was a topic that was very high level. I knew that, like, not everybody in the audience was going to understand what I was going to say. So I had to not only deliver this in front of 1,200 people, which I'd never done before, but then I also had to really talk to the audience in a very different way. So I remember that as a pivotal point because I was so nervous. It was horrible. And I was like, I got there and I was so nervous. And I'm like, just do it. And I got up there and I gave that speech. And at the end of that speech, somebody in the way back of the room asked me a very stupid question. So I gave him a stupid answer and it was a joke and everyone laughed. And it was like that point, I was like, I can do this.
Oh yeah.
Like, I was like, there's no one that can heckle me, no one that can do anything. And since then, I've come across so many challenges in keynote speaking, but I continue to move forward. I love it, you know? I mean, I can tell you so many stories of keynote speaking that I've done in front of thousands and thousands of people. And you get people that come just to steal information, you get hecklers, you get supporters as well.
Yeah.
But you need to know, like, in that world, as the audiences get bigger, you almost have to, like, sectionalize the audience. You know what I mean? Like, when you're doing it someday, I hope, when I'm singing in front of hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
You know, the best lead singers, like the Steven Tylers of the world and those people, they know how to sectionalize audiences and speak to the audiences. And that's where I feel like, as a keynote speaker, that's always been my goal, to be the best at that. You know, like, I want to talk to the person in the way back of the room or the person even outside that door, the same as the front row.
Oh yeah.
And I think I'm pretty good at, people say I'm a great speaker, but I've never had formal training. I've literally just done it all on my own. So you ask how I got there, the hard school way of getting there, I guess, is the answer.
Amazing.
Mhm,
Yeah. That's quite a pat.
Yeah.
I don't know how to respond to that.
That's okay.
That's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
You said you have experience with TED Talks. You want to talk about that a little bit? That's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, sure. So, not on the music side of my life,
Yeah.
but JSM, my company. So we have three specific audience sets that we serve. Okay. So there's JSM for executives, which is really has to do with TED Talks. There's Warrior Women in Business, where we serve female entrepreneurs, and there's JSM for artists, which is why I'm here today, and it's all about music. So with JSM for executives, a lot of the executives that I've worked with over the years, they all have kind of like different needs, but a lot of them are grouped into this little category where they're looking to enable thought leadership. Whether it means they want to increase their salary, they want to sell their books, they want to get paid as a speaker, or a lot of times these executives have a side business and they're looking to get investors. I need to get them ready for that, right? That's my job. So in that, TED Talks throughout the years have become more and more popular. So a lot of the times that I'm working with executives, getting them into a talk, helping them to position them, and most importantly for brand strategy, helping them to define it is exactly what they're going to talk about that's going to distill what their book is going to be about and what they're going to be famous for is really where my focus is.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of times I had to book them for these things and
Yeah.
get them on stage, and then they would call me before they get on stage and say, okay, yeah.
Only because you're starting to talk away from the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is like you're talking about talking, so I want you to get this right.
I am talking about talking.
Yeah. But just mindful of the. You can go back a little bit in your thoughts and just redo that a little bit.
Yeah. Ask me the question again.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned working with TED Talks, and that's pretty interesting. So I want you to talk about how you started doing that and what that does for your clients.
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned before, there's multiple segments of my company. So just to reiterate that, there's JSM for executives, which has to do with the TED Talks, where we service executives in thought leadership development. There's Warrior Women in Business and Warrior Women in Music, which is all about supporting female entrepreneurs and female artists. And then JSM for artists, which is why we're here today.
Yeah.
So for JSM for executives, which has been the meat of my business for a very long time, a lot of the executives to reach their goals, which could be selling their books, becoming paid speakers, or getting investments in new companies that are side hustles, they need to get out there. And not only do they need to get out there, Alex, but they need to get out there on a platform that they own. So they come to me to help them to define which topic they're going to own, how they're going to speak about it, to help them develop those speeches and get out there. And as part of that, TED Talks have become very popular over the years. So with that, what I've done for executives that need that is help them to not only book the TED Talks for them, but more importantly, get them prepared so that then they have something that's really engaging as far as content, so that not only a TED Talk crowd would be interested, but they can carry that forward. And I have a lot of client examples of executives that have left their companies by just starting with a TED Talk, and now they're running multi-million-dollar companies and or selling their books because of this start.
Wow.
So it's a platform.
Yeah.
You know.
Now let's try and get back more into the music too. Understand you got this new band, Silent Fury. I want you to talk to me about that project, what that means to you, what you guys have coming up. Let's go into your music.
Yes, thank you. So I started Silent Fury, and people like, Silent Fury, they always say. I'm like, yes, it's Silent Fury because
It's a badass name.
there's silence in the fury. And actually, I'm going to tell you how the name was brought about, because
Okay.
everybody always asks me about it. And I'm always like, whatever. So anyway, so what I realized is there's a lot of people out there in life that are going through a lot of things.
Yeah.
And they want to be heard, right? But they're silent. And I wanted to write songs from my perspective that that show other people, hey, like, these are my stories, and this is how I'm going to show you that my fury in my silence. So I'm hoping that my music helps other people to be able to stand up and tell their whole goddamn story about what they're upset about.
Yeah.
So anyways, so that's Silent Fury. I started the band in 2018. Actually, I was a lead singer of another band at that time, and I came up with the name, and we were an all-cover band. We did Black Sabbath, we did Megadeth. They were pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
But I was a singer, and I am a singer, and we would do like Guns N' Roses, and I was like, doing these shows, and I'm like, I'm a writer, Alex. Like, I'm a writer.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I want to write my own songs. So that band, we had different ideas. So they didn't work out. But I kept the name. It's my name. It's my brand. And I started to find other players. I actually found the next iteration of that band. I found the drummer here at Funkadelic.
Lovely.
Of course. Anyway, long story short, so the band, I write all the lyrics. I'm the lead singer. Now I have a professional band in terms of my players, which I'm very excited about. And people say that our music is punk alternative. That's what people tell me about it, which is
Okay.
interesting. My first release, Calling 911, a lot of people told me, you sound like Rancid. I'm like, okay. But I never intend on sounding like anyone.
Yeah.
ever with my music. That's not my intention. The only times is I'll direct my bandmates, like with Takashi Anthem, the song that we wrote for Takashi the Wanderer, the book. When we did the guitars, I was like, I want this to sound like Iron Maiden because it should.
Yeah.
It should. You know what I mean? But my music is all about, like, it's interesting because it's very extreme. So one side of the music is really fun. It's almost like I want to bring back the fun of ska
Oh, I love ska.
into a punk alternative band so people are having a good time. And then the other side of the music, like my song A Minor, is very like comes from this minor melancholy place but tells a story. So we have songs about politics. We have songs about capitalism. We have songs just that are that only musicians would understand.
Yeah.
And then we have really fun songs that are meant to get people moving.
Yeah. But it sounds like this music is kind of an outlet for you.
100%.
Yeah.
I love it. There's no place I'd rather be than like right here.
Yeah, and I always you keep the house rocking whenever you come into Funkadelic. You guys are fun to hear when I'm walking the halls. And you had that album party here recently.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, Funkadelic is so great to house us and help us out and support us. So that was on the 16th of September.
I believe so, yeah.
So what we did, so I'll just give you a little backdrop on that. So I've written 3 songs for a graphic novel that finally got printed, and actually I'm going to Los Angeles next week to meet with talent agents
Cool.
to try to get that book into film. So crossing fingers, I'm super excited about it. And anyway, so that show was the release of our latest produced song, which is Dead Weather. And Dead Weather was written for the climactic scene in Takashi the Wanderer, but also has a dual meaning, as everything I write does. So it has to do with global warming and what we see in the future. That book is about a post-apocalyptic future of New York City. So it's very parallel. And we did the video release, which showed the artwork. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was just fun, and we did a 5-song set. And we as a band, they were like, okay, what song do you want to start with? And we just wrote a new song in 2 weeks. We've written a few, so we wrote the song Fire Drill. I'm just really fast about writing songs.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to start giving songs that are going to make people really happy. So that song is really fun. It's like kind of like Alice Cooper-ish meets ska punk. It's really fun.
Cool.
So, so the show was great. And then I just booked us a show yesterday that's happening October 16th in New York City.
Where's that at?
So it's at a secret location,
Okay.
but it's a pop-up. It's called Fearless Female, and it's all punk-led female-fronted bands. It's uptown. We're getting out, as soon as we get the information on the exact address, we're going to share that
Okay.
on Silent Fury Band, which is that's our website and everything else. So that's coming up. That's going to be like 5 bands. It's a donation show to support the artists, and it's going to be it's outdoors, which is good because some people I know refuse to get vaccinated. Not me,
Yeah.
because I like to go places.
Yeah, me too.
I'm like, whatever. But
But
anyway,
in New York, you kind of have to have it right
it's like
now.
in New York, it's like, yes, I need to go places.
Yeah.
So that's coming up. And then something I want to mention I'm so excited about is we're going to have my personal biggest show yet. I'm just so excited. And we're preparing for it by practicing at Funkadelic. December 16th, we're playing at 89 North, and the capacity is 450.
Oh, yes. That's exciting.
So you will see a lot of mini shows before then.
Okay.
Because I like practicing by playing out too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're always open. I'm always open to hear what people have to say about our songs, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm most interested in what people have to say about the lyrics as the lyricist. But yeah.
So where can people find information about these shows?
So our website is silentfuryband.com. Our Facebook page is probably the best because we list all the events there. You can actually sign up. We also have a lot of merchandise, obviously. So we do giveaways and things there. And then Instagram is also Silent Fury Band, and so is Twitter. But most of our activity is really on Facebook.
Okay.
It just seems to be because with all of our events and our campaigns, and we have a shop there, so people can buy merch.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So then I also want to talk about real quick. I know, kind of piggybacking on you talking about doing your party here, rehearsing here. You have a really strong relationship with Funkadelic. So how does that reflect in JSM for artists? Do you work with Funkadelic clients? Do you have any deals for them?
Yeah. Good question. So JSM for artists, let me just start with this. So
Yeah.
JSM for artists, we are very inclusive of the music business industry, and it's actually my goal. My goal as a business owner with JSM for artists is to work with other endemic and collaborative partners like Funkadelic to help support growing bands. That's my whole intention for JSM for artists. So as part of that, we are partners of Funkadelic, and we offer 15% off of our honestly already low packages that we have on our website, from branding, design, social media, all the things that we do. And then we also, I know that Funkadelic offers 15% off for all of our clients as well. So, all of our clients in New York, we try to push them. And also, for our clients that are out of town, if they're coming to New York, it's important that they know about Funkadelic. But if you don't mind, I want to talk about something else that we're working on.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. So one thing that we've been working on for, I don't know, I think it's been about 3 months now, is with Funkadelic, as well as another partner that we're working with out of Long Island, which is a music business law firm. We've come together, 3 ladies. The owner of Funkadelic is Dawn Orlando, and she's a woman. She's kick-ass. And
Absolutely.
I love Dawn to death. And another woman in Long Island who runs the Five Alive Rock Festival. So anyways, I reached out and I was like, hey, ladies, let's do something together. Note that I have Warrior Women in Music as a company that I own. It's a trademark business. We have merchandise. It's all for women. So we came up with this idea that, hey, you know what we want to do? We want the artist to get paid. But we also want the industry to get paid. So we came up with this idea to have a music business conference, an event series, meaning it would be ongoing. And to start this as an inaugural event in May of this year for women in music. So meaning female performers, female-fronted bands, female bands, but also female sound engineers, female A&R people, whatever. So we are in the planning process right now, meaning we are solidifying our venue. We're looking at a capacity venue of 350 to 400 in New York City, where it'll be either a 1 or 2 day event to start, where the purpose is to provide education to female artists on how to do what I've been talking about for the last 30 minutes or so, right? Take your music and build a business from it, but also as a place where female artists can have opportunities to perform, and also female-based brands or companies that are interested in actually supporting women in the music industry be a part of this. So we're like, I am meeting with Guitar Center in LA. We're all over this. Like,
Wow.
This is a big effort that Dawn and Maria and I are involved with. We are putting our blood, sweat, and tears into this. We have no funding on this. So we're doing this really as a passion project.
Yeah.
So anyone out there that wants to lend a hand in helping us, or anybody out there that wants to become, maybe underwrite this, maybe there's a bank out there that, supports women business owners and women in music. Believe me, we're all ears and open to conversations.
You guys hear that?
Really important.
Listen.
Really important. And they can just contact me.
Yeah.
That's easy. It's JasmineSandler.com is my website. It's so simple. So that's an easy one.
Yeah, wow. That's exciting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. I feel like it's always hard to get the first one off the ground.
Yeah.
Because I also own a conference series
Yeah.
I'm not working on right now. And these things take a lot of hard work.
Yeah. It's a big undertaking.
It's a big undertaking, but it has a mission that I think a lot of people agree with.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I can't imagine not getting behind this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. That's nice to hear.
Yeah. It's a great cause. You love to see it. Is there anything else you would like to promote or plug?
Well, I just want to reiterate. So for a couple things that are really important. So for JSM for artists, we're very interested in supporting bands.
Yeah.
So if you're starting out and you're like, I don't know if I can hire somebody for something, we work with bands just doing little things, starting with them by like maybe designing their character or doing their song cover or giving them some, like we do, I offer like branding strategy advice for pennies, not literally,
Yeah.
for bands and artists.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to reach out. So that's number one. Obviously my band, October 16th, Silent Fury Band on Instagram and Facebook. Please follow us. Please take a look at our merch. Please let us know what you know about our music, what you think about our music. And then what we're doing with Warrior Women in Music, I can't overemphasize, I don't think we can do this without support. So if you know somebody that you want to skip, I actually had 2 calls last night on this from somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody that called me. It was like, hey, I heard about you, Jasmine, from 5 different people. What are you doing? And I took a call at night, which I normally don't do, but this is a passion project. And so if you're interested in learning about this or supporting this, please reach out.
Great. Well, yeah. Thank you. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or?
No, I think I'm good. I just want to again, like I always do, thank Funkadelic Studios. I can't overemphasize enough the support that Funkadelic has provided, not only to me on the JSM for Artists side, but to my band and to all the bands in the New York City area. I talk about Funkadelic wherever I go, and I haven't really found and I travel a lot, hence the importance of getting vaccinated.
Yeah.
So I travel a lot, and like when I go to LA next week, Funkadelic will come up in my conversations. They always do. They're special.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that to anybody out there, that if you haven't made Funkadelic your home for music, like, you should. And I'm waiting to get a T-shirt.
We'll get you one. Yeah, well, thank you so much for your support. I mean, we really do love having you. I mean, as you definitely know. Yeah, I mean, it is always great. So thank you so much. And yeah, I'll reiterate what she's saying. New artists, people want to come out, practice, need a comfortable home to play and be welcome. Funkadelic is the place for you. Yeah, thank you so much for coming in today.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you.
You too. And just so everybody knows, they want to contact me directly, it's just jasminesandler.com. And that's it. That's all I got to say.
Where can we find you on social media?
Everywhere.